Okay, today we're building a to-do app like we have right here. It's pretty simple. So you will have title, there you go, poop. Yeah, I was already checking it out and put it right here for this date and me time. There you go. So we'll have something like this that keeps track of your task. Doesn't have a time, but at least you know that date is poop date. And you can delete it and you can edit it and do all that stuff. So that's what we'll be coding today. The link is going to be in the description. And let's see over here real quick what it says about this lab. Learn local storage by building a to-do app. Local storage is a web browsing feature that lets web applications store key value pairs persistently within a user's browser. This allows web apps to save data during one session and retrieve it in a later page session. Okay. In this to-do application, you learn how to handle form inputs, manage local storage, and perform CRUD, create, read, update, and delete operations on task. Implement event listeners and toggle UI elements. That's a lot. Okay, let's just begin the project and let's get to it. Let's see how we go about this. Step 1. In this project, you learn how local storage works in JavaScript by building a to-do app. Local storage is a web storage feature that lets JavaScript lets a feature of JavaScript that lets you persist data by storing the data as a key value pair. Okay, so it stores like an object. The HTML and CSS for this project have been provided for you. Take a look at the files to get yourself familiarized with them. Begin by accessing the task form, confirm close dialog, and open task form button elements. Okay, so we have to make those. So I'm guessing that these are, yeah, these are HTML elements. So we're gonna get them through, make them JavaScript variables, and they wanna use the ID. Task. I usually avoid the IDs, but that's how they want it, and depending on the HTML, they probably now well they 100% use IDs for this. And document. So if you're a little more newer to this, what I'm doing here, I'm going to show you in 1 second. Confirm, close dialog, and then I'm going to create another variable for open task form, and this is button. Document is how you access the DOM, the HTML DOM, and then you're picking a specific element from the DOM, which is this one, open task form btn. Okay, so we have all three. So these three variables, if we go to the HTML, we're looking for task form and confirm dialog. Let's see, we can close this for now. You see, open task form button, task form, close task form, and we're looking for IDs. So ID. So we're looking for specifically those IDs, which we can just come over here and find out. So we're looking for task form, let's say, right? Task form. It should have been just an ID actually. This one has ID in class. Task form, label task form, ID task form right here. So we're getting this form, this whole form HTML, and we're making a variable so we can use JavaScript to interact with that form. So that's what we're doing. Same thing for the ones over here. Same thing for confirm close dialog and open task form. Those HTML elements, we make them into Java variables so we can interact and program stuff to it. Okay, what did I miss? Confirm dialog. Okay, element. There you go, by ID. There you go. So now we will move into the next step. Step 2, you need to access more elements with the get element by ID method. This time you need to all of these ones. Okay, so we're gonna keep doing the same thing. We're gonna use close task form button and document to access the DOM, and then get element by ID, and the ID is close task form button. Same thing, we go for this one. Add or update task buttons. So these are buttons from the HTML, but those buttons don't do anything because we have not added the functionality, and that's why we make it into JavaScript elements. Add. So now we can make it do exactly what we wanted when we click it. But for that, it has to be a JavaScript element first, a variable. Okay, and the cancel. Okay, cancel button, and document get element by ID. Whoop, by ID, and it's gonna be oops, cancel btn. Okay, so we have all of this. Have all the variables. More variables. Next, access the discard, task container, title input elements using element by ID. Okay, so we're pretty much just getting all the JavaScript elements and make them into, all the HTML elements and make them into JavaScript variables, which is actually the first step for a lot of stuff. Then discard btn, then cons, and it's gonna be task container. I like leaving some space. Document. Yep. Get element by ID and oops, task container, right? Container. Then cons, and I see over here we had a little hiccup. Oops. And comes, and then title input. Oh. Get element by ID and title input, right? Title input. What did I miss? Tasks containers. Task containers. I missed something else. So we have task containers or discard btn task container title input document element by ID element ID. I missed something. Task containers. Okay, right here. Whoa, the wind. Okay, let me put this over here because the wind is getting. All right, and it keeps coming. Let's just close that over here. All right. Let's see the camera real quick. Okay, yeah. Okie dokie. And don't forget to become a supporter and support freeCodeCamp so I can keep doing this for free. Wow, that's a longer than usual advertisement. Be a hero. Okay, here we go. Step 4. The last step is the elements you need to get from the HTML file and are the date input and the description input. So we're going to do the same thing. Cons, date input. So you should be an expert already on this. Document, get element by ID. And you you do the same thing when you want to get an element that is by a class instead of an ID. For example, description input. So if you're getting a class instead of ID, you would do like query selector. You would do query selector, and you would make it a class. All right. So a class will begin dot description, right? Description input, and you will pick that class. If you want to pick all class that have all of them that have that class, you will put all in the end. And you gotta make sure that you put here, and if you're picking an ID, a query selector right here, and you pick in an ID, you will have to do that. The number, the pound sign for the ID, and then the dot will be a class. But since we are doing a by element, get element ID, we don't need this because it knows it's an ID, so we just need to put the name. Okay, where did I mess up? Get element by ID, description input, date input, document get element by ID. It will tell me here where I messed up. You should get element by ID. Okay, yeah, by ID. Okay, create a task data constant and set it to an empty array. Let's just do that real quick. Constant task data, and they want it to an empty array. Yeah, an empty array. So, okay. This array will store all the tasks along with their associated data, including title, blah, 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 blah. This storage will enable you to keep track of the tasks, display them on the page, and save them to the local storage. Okay. Oh, you want let. Oh, no, no. Okay, you want another one. That's a constant. And you want let to create the current task. Okay, because that one's going to keep changing. Very one. Set it to an empty object. You got it. To an empty object. This variable will be used to track the state when editing and discarding tasks. Okay, so constant is when it's constant, you don't want it to change. You don't want it to name it, assign it again. And let, you can actually reassign it. So if I wanted to put over here and say let current task and make it a string, I could do that. I cannot do that with the current task because it's constant. So that's just the difference between those two. That's when you want to have something protected, not to be reused and messed with later down the road on your code. And you can do object freeze, dot object freeze on that task to make sure that it cannot be mutated inside, but that's more advanced. We can get to that as we go. Now, step six, gotta work on my accent. Now you will work on opening and closing the form model, okay? In earlier projects, you learned how to add and remove classes from an element with l.classlist.add and l.classlist.remove. Another method to use with the classlist property is the toggle method. Oh, method. The toggle method will add the class if it's not present on the element and remove the class if it is present on the element. That's very useful. So that's how you do that. Okay. Add an event listener to the open task form element, form button element, and pass it the click element for the first argument and an anonymous callback function for the second argument. Okay. So let's do that right now as we go. Open task form button dot add event listener. So this is what they want, and the one they click, and then the one an anonymous function. Oops, an anonymous function. Oops, sorry, buddy. Okay. Okay. I'm passing an anonymous callback function for the second argument. I'm pretty sure that's what you want. Oh, wait, hold on. There's other stuff. There's more stuff down here. Inside the callback function, use the class list.toggle method to toggle. Okay, inside the function. So inside we have this class list.toggle method to toggle hidden, and we're gonna toggle hidden class on the task form element. on the task form element. Okay, so task form element. So task form dot class list dot toggle. Okay, so that's what that's gonna do. You got it. There you go. So every time we click that button, it's gonna toggle this element. So it's gonna make it appear or disappear. It's very useful, very useful. That's good for menus too. When you click in a menu and it pops up and then click and disappears. A modal is an element that prevents all interactions with elements outside it until the modal has been dismissed. Okay, that's like a pop-up. The HTML dialog element, excuse me, has a show modal method that can be used to display a modal dialog box on a web page. Dialog element dot show modal. Okay. Add an event listener to the close task form button variable and pass it a click event for the first argument and a callback function for the second. So we're doing the same thing. Close task form button, and they want an event listener, and they want it on click, and they want a function that a function that does the show modal on the confirm close element. So confirm close dialog dot show modal. This will show the model with the discard and cancel buttons. This will display a model, okay, with the discard. Okay, that's what I wanted. Whoa, that's not what I wanted to do. Okay, here we go. Wait, hold on. Close task form dot add event listener done, and then we have thing on the confirm close dialog dot show more. That's where it is. You see? I just gotta be careful how you spell things. Modal. There you go. If the user clicks the cancel button, you want to cancel the process and close the model so that the user can continue editing. The HTML dialog element has a close method that can be used to close the model. Okay, so on the cancel method right here, that we already canceled button, and this is why we bring all these constants over here. See the cancel button that we brought it right here? We made a constant variable, so now we can mess with it down here. So add event listener, and then on a click, when we click the cancel button, it does a specific function which we are making right now, and the function is pass the click element and a callback function for the second, and then the callback function does this. It closes the model. So now that button, when we click it, it's gonna do something that we told it to do here. Close the thing, you see? So that's how you get the HTML and make it into something that works depending how you want it with JavaScript. If the user clicks the discard button, you want to close the model showing the cancel and discard buttons. You want to show, okay? Then hide the form model, okay? So discard btn dot add event listener. An event listener is basically looking for this event, which is click. So when you click, it will do something. And we're gonna do the function. And on confirm, we gotta open this. Confirm close dialog. We're gonna do the close model. also use a class list to toggle the class hidden on the task form. So the modal will close too. Okay, add event listener to the discard button. Yeah. Then use the close method on confirm close dialog. We just did that. Then also use the class list to toggle the class hidden on task form. So also do that. All right, so to do more than one, then we do clean right here and also do a task form dot class list dot toggle, and we're gonna toggle the hidden. So essentially when we click, it's gonna do two things. It's gonna do close the modal and change the class or toggle the class hidden on and off from the task form. So that's what they want here. Pam, 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 pam. Okay, step 10. Now you've worked on opening and closing the model. It's time to get values from the input fields, save them into the task data array, and display them on page. Okay, to start, add a submit event listener to the task form. Okay, so task form, add event listener, and then this time instead of click, it's a submit. So this means when this task form element gets something submitted, that's what it's listening for, submission. So you click a form and you click submit and it submits a form. When that is going to do a specific event and a specific function, which we're going to do it right here. And this function is submit to add a submit event listener to the task form element, pass the e argument, and that's just a common variable we use, parameter of your function. Inside the curly braces, brackets, forgot it right here, curly brackets, use prevent default. Okay, so we are preventing the default. Okay. Use the prevent default method to stop the browser refreshing the page after submission. So a lot of elements have default things that they do, like a submit button will refresh the page. With this, when this form, the task form, gets click submit, normally it will refresh the page. With this, it's listening for that submit event and it's going to prevent from the default behavior. So it's not going to refresh the page. You can click submit and it may submit everything, but it's not going to refresh the page. It's going to leave it there. And that's for the task. When you're adding a task here and you're inputting a task, it gets added, but it doesn't refresh the page like it normally does with submission. When you're doing a newsletter in a page, you click submit and it refreshes and it goes to a thank you page. But this prevents that from happening. Oh, why did I miss something? Oh, I forgot E. Yeah, E, because that's the parameter you're passing. Yeah. Okay. There is no spoon. That is right. No spoon. You are the spoon. You will need to determine whether the task being added to the task data array already exists or not. If the task does not exist, you will add it to the array. If it does exist, you will update it. To accomplish this, you can handle the find index method. The find index array method finds and returns the index of the first element in the array that meets the criteria specified by a provided testing callback function. If no such element is found, the method returns number one, -1. The callback should return a truthy value to indicate a matching element has been found and a false value otherwise. Okay, so here's an example. You have the array of elements, and right here you have the function is going to store whether you have it or not. And it's numbers.find index, and you're finding a specific number if that number is greater than 3. So if it's greater than 3, so it's going to find 5 and 6. So there is, and it's going to print index 0, 1, 2 right here. The first one that was bigger than 3. That's the only problem. It finds this first one. It doesn't find all of them like filter. Use constant to declare a variable called data array. So if you wanted to find all of them that were bigger than 3, you will use dot filter instead of the one find index. But that's beyond this. Data array index, okay? And assign it the value of task data dot find index, and we're finding what? For find index method, pass it an arrow function with item as parameter. So an arrow function, item, and this is an arrow function because it looks like an arrow. And then we do this little thing, item as a parameter. With the arrow function, check if the ID property of the item is strictly equal to the ID property of current task. So right here, you want me to find if the item.id is strictly equal to current task.id. And to be honest, I don't even think you need this for that. We can just remove this right here and just keep it like that. All right, there we go. Whenever our user creates a task, it should be saved in a object. Excuse me, need my coffee. Constant variable task object and assign the value of an empty object. Then below add a console.log that logs the value of the task object. Okay, sure. So that's just testing. Open up the console to see an empty object. Okay. Okay. Inside your task object, add an ID property for the value and use the, okay, we're gonna do step by step. So we're gonna do an ID property like this, right? And then the value, use the value of the input title. So you want the value of the input title. So are you strictly speaking about this? Let's see if that's what they want. Title.input.value. I wonder if that's what they want. To see the results, click on the add, okay, button, okay. Then add the title and click add task. We're gonna do poop. And then we're gonna click add task. ID poop. So it's gonna add it here. That's open up to see the result. ID poop. Okay, so that's what you just testing to see. Okay, that's what you wanted to see. Okay, not a problem. The user should be able to input a title with upper and lowercase letters. For the ID, the value should be all lowercase. Okay, update your title input.value to be all lowercase. You can use the toLowerCase method, not a problem. To see the results, click on the Add New Task button. Let me get my coffee because this is part of programming life right here. Then add a title of whack dot and click on the Add Task. And excuse me, by the way. So this two lowercase. So it always makes it lowercase. To see the results, click on the Add Task button on the Add whack dot and click on OK. You want me to add walk dog. Similar to taking a poop, but different. Walk dog, and then click it over here, and it makes it all lowercase. Oh, ta-da! Right now, your ID value is a lowercase string, but the final result should be a hyphenated string. Okay. Start by chaining the split method to the title input to split the string into an array. Okay. So you also wanted to split it. Okay. Sure thing. And you're gonna split it with what? Really? Okay. You want to split it with a space separator. To see the new result, we're gonna do the same thing. Okay. Walk dog, and then press, and it's gonna separate walk and dog. Wow. Okay. Now your ID is an array of words. Okay. You can join them. Yes. And we're gonna join it. All right. Join. And don't mind if you get lost, it's just because I already know what they're gonna do just by seeing what they're saying. So this is gonna join walk, that hyphen, and then dog. and it's all gonna be all lowercase. There you go. Walk dog. Well, it explains it here. There you go. Step 17. There is one last thing you will need to do to make this ID unique. But first, place the entire value below inside an embedded expression. The whole thing, okay, so we're gonna put all of this stuff inside an embedded expression. Beep. But I will need the template literal for that, but okay, well, that's just what they want to do, not a problem. Yeah, you need a template literal for that. Wrap, okay, this right here, it tells you right there to wrap it. I was wondering because it was not gonna work otherwise. There you go. There you go. Now it works. Today, to make the ID more unique, add another hyphen and use date.now. Date.now returns the number of milliseconds elapsed since January 1st, 1970. Console.log, date.now. To see the result, click the add. So you want me to add a hyphen, and okay, so you want me to add a hyphen. Inside the template literal, just add a hyphen and then add date.now. Date.now. Okay, and then you want me to add walk dog again. It says name. So click any task button, then title. Add another hyphen and use another hyphen. What do you mean add another hyphen? Oh, why? That is whoa. That is why. This is why. Is I have to do it outside of this. Okay. Then hyphen and then okay. Might be a little confused. Wait. Oh, by itself. That would explain it. By itself. It wouldn't work otherwise. I was getting confused there. I will admit I was getting confused. So here, okay, let's see. Okay, that's the very, very long whatever in milliseconds. It's too hard to read. Yeah, you don't want to do the date done now for sure. Now it is time to add the remaining properties to the task object. Retrieve the values from the title input, date input, and the screenshot input. Excuse me. Yes, I need a nap. Here we go. Then save them into the properties. Oh, so we're doing the same thing we were doing in the beginning. So constant title document dot get element by ID. And then if you want to make this faster, you might as well copy this equals. Yeah, there you go. Copy that. And then retrieve the values from title.input. And then the save the, oh no, this is different stuff. Okay, retrieve the value from the title input, the input, and description input fields, and save them in the properties title. Okay, this is completely different stuff. Never mind. So title input, the input, and description input. Where are they? So those are IDs already. Description input. So we already have those ID. So you wanted just to make it, okay. You just gotta get title input. That's there already. Title input dot value. Constant date. And you want the date input dot value. So this is what they want. I believe this is what they want. Description equals to description dot value. Description input. Okay, description input. And save then in the properties of, add a new task on the project. We're gonna make this shorter in one line, but let's see if it works. Okay, unexpected keyword. What is the expected keyword? Cons title. Where are we inside? Oh, we are inside. We're inside of the event listener. And this is the object. Oh, oof, oof. I see. We're inside this object. Let's see what they say here. And task the console with new properties. No, okay. Retrieves the value from, okay, so title and save then in properties. Title. So to retrieve, okay, we're retrieving title, date, and description from, we're gonna make it a constant, I believe, constant, from the task of it, save the in the properties of title of. So we're gonna make those three into that. Okay, hold on. Oh, oh, I see. Okay, it's just by itself. We're already in an object, right? So we're just gonna do title, and then just title dot title input dot value the value, and then comma, and then date input dot value, comma, and then description description input dot value. Okay, so then that's what we're wanting to do. Okay, let's add it. And there you go. Yes, the walk dog with that, and then title walk dog, date, and description. Okay, so that's what they want. Took me a little second to get my gears around it. All right, so now we have step number 20. Now that you have finished testing your task object, you can remove the console log. Okay, yeah, because we tested it. All right. Now you have obtained the values from the input fields and generate an ID. Okay, you want to add them to your task data array to keep track of each task. However, you should only do this if the task is new. If the task already exists, you will set it up for editing. This is why you have data array index variable, which provides the index of the array. Okay, so data array index. That was below then. No. Okay, data array index right here. So it finds the ID and compares if it's already there. So if it's already there, then we're gonna do an if statement. That's what they're asking here. Create an if statement. If the condition is equals to -1, within the if statement, use the onShift method to add the task object to the beginning of the task array. Okay. And shift is an array method that is used to add one or more elements at the beginning. So on shift 0, it will add 0 right there. So it will be 0. Okay. So let's get into the if they ask for the data, if data array, right? If data array index is strictly equals to 1, which means it is not into the task data. So to add the task object, so we add the task object, task up, no object, right? It's only one. Task object dot on shift. No, wait. Okay, task data. That's what I'm getting confused. So if we here task object, we're gonna add the object to the task form. Task form. Okay. All right. If the data array index is equals to -1, there you go. That's getting confused. -1 into the task form, we're gonna add that object. That's more like it. If should be task data. Ooh, task data, no form. Oops. Yeah. Okay. Step 22. Now you have saved the task in the task data. Yeah, don't confuse the data with the form. You should display the task on the page by looping through it. Okay. Use the for each on the task data. Then structure ID, title, and description as the parameters. Okay. So the task data, we're gonna do a for each, and we're gonna pass the ID, title, date as the parameters, and don't return anything yet. Okay. So it's an empty callback function at this moment. Okay. So you just don't, okay, if you want me to do that, I will do that. Whatever you wish is my command. You want it like that right now? You should use ID, title, date, description. Okay, description. Forgot one. Description. Okay. As this construct parameters for the callback function. So it is a callback function. So it is okay. Ay. So okay. So this is what they want, I guess. They construct parameters of the callback function. Okay. That's what they wanted. Using arrows syntax, complete the for each callback function. Inside the callback function body, use an addition assignment to set the inner HTML of task container to empty backticks. So a template literal. Okay. So we're gonna set task container dot inner HTML to a empty literal. That's what they want here. Okay. You should, oh, the additional, okay, I forgot. Yeah, there you go. So it takes all of this stuff and the task container, the inner HTML, so it's like the text content. Add it to that. Okay, you got it. Here we go. Hooah! Let me eat my cookie while that happens because it takes a little while. Okay. Create a div element with class task. Utilize template strings. Okay. Set the ID attribute of the ID to the ID attribute of your constructed form on the task form. Okay. So we're talking about inside the template literal. Okay. You get were confusing me. So a template literal allows me to do this now. Okay. Div. You want me to create a div, and it's gonna have the ID. It's gonna have the ID attribute, the ID of this constructor, the ID you disconstructed from your task data. So the ID of this. So 100% I'm gonna have to use something like this, right? Oh, okay, so this ID. So I'm gonna use that ID. Okay, so would it be task form, task data.id? Let's see if that works. No. With the class task. Is that what they said? Next, we need to set the ID attribute of the div to the ID you disconstructed from the task data. Why does it say here? You should create a div element with the class task. Okay. Class task. Oh, it says it right here, element class task. Oh, I didn't see that. Oh, okay. Okay, so I did this right. I just didn't see this right here. Okay. Oops. Okay. Step 25. Create a P element, and use template strings to set its content to the title. Easy peasy. So P and the content. They want this content over here to be the content of the title. So that would be this right here, then title. Okay. Create a strong element with a text title right before the content of the P element. So right before, create a strong element. You got it. Strong element with the text title, and then we close the strong element. Okay, this is what they wanted right here. Title. Yeah. You see? Got it. Now, step 26. Similarly to the previous step, create another P element. Okay, another P element. And you want me to interpolate the date. So the same thing as the title. That's what they mean. Interpolation means doing this with the date. As a text content, inside this variable, create a strong element, same thing as the other one. Okay. Okay, dokie. A strong element with date. Okie dokie. All right, step 27. So is this? I think this is doing for the age. It's gonna explain it in a second. And this is the two buttons that we did before. Discard, yeah, cancel, or discard. Yes, we did that earlier. create one p element, another p element, okay, and interpolate, and then okay, we're just gonna go right away to the strong. We know we're doing description, and then close the strong, and then we're gonna interpolate the description, and then we're gonna close. Oops, we're gonna close the p all at once, all at once. All right. To allow for task management, you need to include both a delete and an edit button for each task. Okay, create two button elements. We're going to create a button actually. Two button elements. Right? And then with the type attribute to button. Sure thing. Button. And the class. Oops. Oh, that's not what I'm looking for. If you're wondering, I have a Japanese keyboard. That happens sometimes. Set the text of the first button to edit. Okay, actually, so I should have just copied the whole thing here instead of getting ahead. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. The text is edit, and then the other text is delete. Here we go. And this is all inside of this task for each button. Okay, task data for each. After adding the task for the page to the page, you should close the form model to view the task. Okay. To do this, use the class list hidden on the task form. Okay, task form dot class list, and then we're gonna do hidden. All right, so that's towards the end when all of this happens. For each element that we do, it does all of this, and in the end, it hides it, right? Toggle, I forgot toggle. Class list dot toggle dot toggle. What did I miss? Class, okay, list. There you go. So when we go over here, please fill out whack pool. There you go. We got whack pool. Says edit. We still don't have edit. We still don't have delete, but we do have this, and we have the cancel, and we have the discard. Okay. If you attempt to add another task, you notice the input fields retains the value you entered for the previous task. To resolve this, you need to clear the input. Okay, so let's see. Walk poop. And then let's add a new one. Walk poop. Okay, so it has multiple walk poop. To resolve this, you need to clear the input fields after adding a task. Instead of clearing the input fields one by one, it's good practice to create a function that handles clearing those fields. You can then call these functions whenever you need to clear the input fields again. Use an arrow functions to create a reset function. So constant reset, and we're gonna make an arrow function that's gonna reset this stuff, but they don't want us to do it yet. It's just basically set the skeleton inside the reset function. So set the title input, their input, and description input to an empty string. Okay, to an empty string. Then date input and description input. Description input. Okay. Also use class list to toggle the class hidden. Okay, so again, same thing. Task form class list dot toggle. Then we're gonna do hidden on the task form and set current task to an empty object, and also send current task to an empty object. Okay, that's because at this point current task will be filled with the task the user might have added. Okay, so when we click reset, it makes the reset date that resets that, then it hides this, and then the current task is an empty object. The current task will be filled with the task the user might have added. Okay. Whoa. Oh, the value. Oh, sorry, I forgot. Let's see. Wait. Set each value. So you want the value. Yep. It's a very different thing for the variable and the value that you put inside the variable. You should use classly to toggle. Task. From. Okay. Form. Oops. Okay. There you go. So title input dot value is very different than title input. Title input is the variable. When you input a value inside, that's the value when you put dot value. Remove the existing code toggling the class of hidden on task form and call the reset function instead. This function, this will clear the input fields and also hide the form model. Okay, task form. So you remove the existing code toggling. So you want to remove this code right here. And instead, and call the reset function instead. So just gonna call reset here. Reset function. Okay. Also, remove the existing code toggling the class hidden on task form. So this code right here. And call the reset function instead. Okay, reset function. So when you click on the discard button right here, it resets everything. Yeah, it resets the title, this, and the description, and then the current task that we. Okay, I see. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. You should display the cancel and discard buttons to the user only if there is some text present in the input fields. Very true, because if you go like this, they should not have discard. You should have cancel, but the discard is on. Okay. Start by removing the confirm close show dialog line, so you don't need to this. Okay. Then inside the close task form button element, write some logic to check if there is a value in the title input. Write some logic. If any of those fields has a value, then use the show model. So we're going to do if title input dot value dot length is greater than 0, then it will do that. And then we're going to copy and do the same thing for the other ones. And instead of title input, we're going to do date input. And instead over here of date input, we're going to do description input. Description input. All right. So if there is anything in any of those, we're going to do the confirm close dialog dot show model. Perfect. Otherwise, there are no changes and call the reset function clear. Okay. Else, just do the reset function. There you go. So let's see. If not, you just close the reset function and you just close. Now, if it does have something, and it's going to show the model. Hey, buddy, what's going on? Messed something up, messed up something. If title input dot value dot length is greater than 0, or the date input dot value dot length is greater than 0, or the description is greater than 0, if any of those stuff is more than 0, oh, show model. Oops, that's why. So what poop, and then there you go. So I was missing that little thing. Okay, there you go. So that works. That's what I wanted. And boom, perfect. Now, step 35. You can enhance code readability and maintainability by refactoring the submit event listener into two separate functions. The first function can be used to add the input values to the task data, while the second function can be responsible for adding the tasks to the DOM. Okay? So one will add what you're inputting into your storage, local storage, and another one will display it. So two different functions. Okay, got it. Use an arrow syntax to create add arrow syntax. So, oops, constant add or update task function, right? So we're gonna create an arrowhead function most likely because that's what they like. Then, yeah, an arrow syntax, there you go. Then move the data array index variable, the task object, and the if statement into the add. Hold on. So they want this, the variable, data index variable, the task object, and the if statement into the add or whatever. So the variable data array index variable, right? The task object. Okay. Move. So you're saying move the actual variable. This is where I'm a little confused. So this variable. Okay, good. They want us to move this variable. Starting to see what they're saying. Okay, so we want to move it here. Bam. This variable. Then the task object itself. So we're moving all of this stuff. Okay. The object itself. We're moving all that stuff into this. Okay. Task object itself. And the if statement. And the if statement. If task object. Wait, I got confused. What's the task object here? Oops. The if statement. This if statement. Is that what we're saying? I might need to reset this because I lost track. And the if statement, because this will be here. And then this one does not need here. Okay, so is this what they wanted? This is what they wanted. Okay, so the variable that tells you whether that task is already in the storage, the task object, the one that shows when you make a task like this one and you add it. Doesn't, oh, it's broken because it has not. We just destroy the functionality right now. Okay, so let's just keep moving forward to repair it. Use the arrow syntax to create and update. Okay, so update task container function and move the task for each and its contents from task form submit event links into the new. Okay, so the task for each. So task for each is gonna be here. Task for each and its contents from the task forms submit event into, okay, and its content. Move it from the task forms. Okay, so we're not doing this over here then. Submit, and then we have this, and then we have the reset. Okay, that's good. You should move the task and its content into the update one. Yeah, I moved that and its content for each and its content. I forgot two for its content. Okay, never mind. So for each, should you have the reset? Yeah, that reset was part of the, yep, reset right here. Because we have this string literal, and then it will be the reset. No. For each. Was it all of that? We should move the task for each content. Okay, let's reset it, see how it was. And then, okay, constant update task container, and we're gonna make it into an arrow function, and inside that arrow function we're gonna put the for each task for each. Yeah, so it's all its contents actually. That's it. It's not more, not less. Yeah, yeah, I just forgot that. Inside the add or update function, call the update task container and reset function. So we're gonna update task container function. That one I remember. I don't remember. I mean, the reset I remember. So the update task, that's the one that we just did, right? down here. Yeah, that's the one we just did. This function that does the for each update task container. That I would say that. Add or update task. So if the task it is not in there, you create a task, right? So it has a task object in Shift and update task container and reset update task container. Okay. It's gotta take time to understand what's going on. Now remove the reset call inside task form submit event. What doesn't? Let's see where this is. The prevent function. Yeah. And call add or update task function. So that's what it is. You wanted me to call this function too. There you go. Step 39. There's a problem if you add a task and then add another, the previous task is duplicated. This means you need to clear out the existing contents of the task container before adding a task. Okay. Yeah. So we're back to the same problem. We just separated the two different functions where we had the same problem as before. So now we're going to fix it. This means you need to clear out the contents, the existing contents of task container before adding a new task. So task container.inner HTML to an empty string. So in the update task container, okay. Task containers. There you go. To enable editing and deleting for each task, add an on-click attribute to both buttons. Set the on-click attribute, so we're gonna add an on-click attribute. On-click equals to on-click attribute to edit task. To edit task. This for the edit button and delete this. Okay, so over here, on click, delete, edit this, on click attribute, delete task. That does this. Wait, hold on, I'm confused. Let me go. An edit task that does this. Okay. The edit task this function will handle editing, while the delete task this function will handle deletion, but we need to give them those functions. This is a keyword that refers to the current context. In this case, this points to the element that triggers the event, the buttons. Okay, so that this just means whatever element that is inside this, it triggers that. But we still gotta give the edit and delete these functions something. Create a delete task. Now we're doing it right here. So constant delete. So we're gonna create the functions that we were using before. So we should have done that first, but I don't. This is how they do this. So okay, pass button L parameter. So button element parameter and define an empty. Okay, so that all right, we have it. You need to find the index of the task you want to delete first. Okay, create a data array. Okay, create a data array in this variable and set its value using the. Okay, so data index and set its value using the find index method on task data. Task data dot find index method. Pass the item as a parameter for the arrow function, and within the callback. Okay, so we're doing that. Find the item, and then within the callback, check if ID of item. So item dot ID is equals to parent element, to the ID of the parent element of the button. Dot ID, hold on, and before it's done thinking. Pass the item function button to this, to the data array, right? And within the call button, check if the ID of the item, so it will be this data array index, because we're finding task data find index, so it's going to find that item, that index. So it's going to be data array index is going to be equals to the parent element ID. So it's going to be button element dot ID. Okay, so I think that's what they want. Use a const to declare the array. Okay, yeah, should have known. They love that const. Okay, so declare the arrays and set the to task that. Oh, task data. Oops, naming convention. Task data. Okay, and then should call back, should check the item.id to the bottom parent element. Oops. So few mistakes is parent element .id. Let's see. Let me see what it says. Okay, don't use curly braces. They don't want curly braces. And it's the item.id. Okay, one thing I am confused is item.id. So in this one, we're passing the button element. So it's a button element, right? And then it's going to create a constant that finds the ID. After it finds the ID, oh no, this finds the index. That's why. This actually finds the index, but the ID itself, okay, that's where I messed up. Okay. Okay. You should not alter the delete task function. Okay, wait. You need to find the index. Oh, so this is all outside of this. Wait, I'm gonna redo this because I got confused there. All right. So we are inside the function. Okay, we are. And you want to, let's begin with create a constant data array index, right? And we're gonna pass a data dot find index, and we're gonna pass item, right? Right. Pass the item as a parameter for the callback function. Yeah. And within the callback function, check if id.item is equals to button element dot parent element dot id, right? Should check. Oops, why did I do id.item? That's a brain fart. That's telling me it's about time to call it. Item.id equals to button element dot parent element dot id, and don't use curly brackets. So what do you mean don't use curly brackets? If you remove the curly brackets, it kind of breaks this. It immediately breaks this stuff. Yeah, should not alter the delete task. No. Trying to understand what they want. Do you want me to do the if this first, then do that? Is this what you're asking? If this, then do this? Is this what you're asking for? No. So this one's good. It's just this one over here that does not work. Right? So item.id, if I copy this time, this whole thing, and I put it here, it does not work. What if I put it on top? No, so it does. I am going to see. We have street stomp upon place, right? You know, once This actually was the problem. So let's see. Nope. So my callback function needs to check. Pass item as the parameter for the arrow callback function. And within the callback function, within the callback function, you mean like here? Okay, we're gonna do this one again because I got confused. So the bottom element, the bottom element is part of the stuff that was good. Equals to this is where I'm stumped, and it's been over an hour, so I should call it a day. But don't know if they want. Wait, I am so stumped. If it's true, if this is gonna give me a boolean or not, so it's not gonna give me anything, so that doesn't work. It still past the item portion, so
Oh my god.
I don't know. Actually, before we clean this video, we're gonna find the help because I'm a little stumped myself on this one. So let's look at this to-do list. We're gonna go on the help. Hey, there you go, help. And we're gonna go search and ask. It's to do app. Step 42. 42. Yeah, can't be the only one. Let's see what it says. Your solution works for my end. Well, what was the solution? Doesn't show anything. Please try the following steps to move forward. Click the restart button and force refresh on your page and then paste the code or try blah blah blah. that did not help. Which step I'm on? I'm on step 42. Yeah. So maybe this step because I don't see it. Okay, this is what they want. That's the fine. Oh, so they want another one. They want another touch. Okay, that's where I got confused. Oh, okay, okay. So this one, okay, that was confusing. So pass item as a parameter for the caller function, and within the caller function they check. Okay, that's what they meant. So the one that was not the best wording. I'll give you that. They could explain that better. So had they said that, that would have made things so much easier. That wording horrible. They could have literally said that and then do an error function inside that. That that would have made it so much easier. Okay, either way, now we have that one. We're gonna go to step 43. This is where we're gonna pause because it's about to be an hour and a half. So by the time that this is out, you should have the step number 2 video somewhere over here. You can follow our own, but for this specific video, it's gonna end. You guys have a good one.